Hello, hello, hello. Hey,
Good.
everybody. Woo! We are so excited to be here with you today. I'm Melissa Alaba, breakthrough coach, group practice owner, couples counselor, and money trauma specialist. And I am here with the amazing Tara Goldsman Freeman, all the names.
All
Okay,
of I have
masters.
multiple.
Yes, all the names. She also is one of our lead supervisors, working with folks and helping them to get together and running supervision. So tonight we really wanted to come to you guys and talk about grief. Like literally, this is the time of year where a
Mhm.
lot of things are coming up. Have you been seeing that, Tara?
Absolutely. Just especially for the people like the first, right? I'm passed away this year. This is really that time where it's the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, and just kind of seeing like how to help them process through that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. So I was sharing with you, and many of you guys may have seen it, may not have seen it yet, but just saying that the movie, the Black Panther movie, the second one, Wakanda Forever, yay! Um, really deals a lot with grief and processing grief. And I wanted to just talk about why is it important that we process grief, Tara?
so that we can heal, right? That's the way that we start healing, because when we don't, when we avoid and we just kind of stuff it down, go to work, just kind of like life goes on, it's going to come back up, right? And it's going to come back up at those times when you least expect it, right? When you're helping someone get through grief, or when something happens, you're watching a movie, you're at work, you have a breakdown. So the most important thing is to take that time to process your grief so that you can heal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you say that, it just made me think about a lot of times when we're working with folks, a lot of issues, depression, anxiety, anger, constant
Mhm,
frustration
mhm.
is all from unresolved grief, like things that they haven't dealt with, whether that was childhood or
Yeah.
even a past relationship.
Mhm. Yeah. And one thing that I'm seeing a lot with my clients is when someone that's passed away that might have been like an abusive parent, and then when they do pass away and they still have that feeling, like a lot of emotions are coming up, they don't know how to deal with them because they're like, wait a minute, I didn't have a good relationship with this person. Why am I feeling all of these emotions? So helping them process through that. What was that relationship like during childhood? What did they need from that person to help them heal, to help them get through that? Because it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. And I also think, just like when you were saying, if it's like your first holiday, whether that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, or even a New Year, or the first time you celebrate a birthday of the
Yeah.
loved one that passed away, or your birthday, not having them here,
Mhm.
now you have to get into a space where you're creating new rituals. And
Mhm.
so that's something that we help our clients do too is what are some new rituals that we can put into place so that this time doesn't have to be a time where it is constantly feeling bad.
Yeah, yeah. And that would be a good time. I know a lot of my clients, they may do because with social media, they may do like a TikTok, of just different videos, different pictures. They may bake their favorite cake, right? If their loved one was a cake baker or whatever their favorite meal was, they may try to duplicate that in memory of the person instead of closing off those things, right? Like mama made the pound cake, so we can't have pound cake, It's like,
Yeah.
let's make the pound cake. Let's try to, we might not make it like mama, but let's still try to make a pound cake,
Yeah.
that you carry that on, you know
Yeah.
of making the pound cake instead of
And
letting
and
it die.
yeah, and maybe even talking about her while you're making it and
Hmm.
adding the ingredients. But
Hmm.
what I hear from you, and I think the biggest decision of what we're saying is like you get to decide that the holidays don't have to be bad. Because I
Hmm.
have literally met people, speaking about one person recently, which was a friend of mine, and his mom had passed from cancer. And so he had made a decision is several years ago that the holidays are bad for me.
Mm, mm, mm.
So already had like this, like I don't do anything around the holidays. You know, I go to her grave, but I don't do anything to celebrate. My
Yeah.
kids know. I just kind of stay to myself. Have
Mm,
you ever had a client to
yeah.
kind of just share like it's a decision to shut down during that time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for them, they consider it like a moment of reflection instead of living. Right? They're like, "Hey, this is my time. We're not doing anything." Which, for me, I feel, you have to do what works for you, but at the same time, honor you still want to honor that person, and the person, of course, unless they were a narcissist, they will want you to move on, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's a whole nother face, but they would want you to move on, right? They would want you to still celebrate the birthdays, still celebrate those holidays, and not just shut down. But if you're using it for a moment of reflection, in honor of them, but you don't want your kids to not be able to celebrate Christmas, right? You still want to be able to say, hey, go right, but still do things in memory of instead of in loss of.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so important to have someone in your corner that you can
Mm-hmm.
share your emotions with. They can
Yeah.
hold that space with you. So
Mm-hmm.
you can have a place where you're actively grieving and talking about that pain, and then also actively participating in some new things at home, and literally figuring out what the process is going to be for that. Because I do think it is a process. It for everyone is going to be different,
Yeah.
but it is a decision to open up, to be vulnerable, and in that decision, it also means that um, we need to have support. Like
Mm-hmm.
having that support system is going to be big because, again, it's not an easy thing to do, especially if you've been closed off for a lot of years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Isolating is not, especially around the holidays, is not the time. That's when you reach out to those supports. You tap into the people around you, even if it is finding a grief support, right? A grief support group. If you don't have a lot of family in town, connecting with friends, connecting with your church, connecting with various Facebook groups, just to kind of have that support to be able to have a safe space to talk, and again, not internalize those things.
Absolutely. I saw somebody on Facebook was saying sometimes talking about that person really does help.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Honoring that person and still live life to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's a process because it's like one of the things that we know for sure, right? When you've lost a loved one, especially someone like a parent or a child, as
Mm-hmm.
you're moving through, it's going to be this sense of grief and loss that they're not here with me as
Mm-hmm.
this new milestone has come up.
Yeah.
So it's literally figuring out what your process is going to be to connect the two.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like some losses change you forever,
Mm-hmm.
but then we get as we move through them and process our feelings, we get an opportunity to become one with the loss and give it a new meaning. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you talked about, Tara. It's like that new meaning of what I'm going to live life to the fullest. And this is what this is going to look like for me now. I'm going to honor this person by doing the things that I said that I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like those are like different processes because the one thing with grief is we can't skip steps.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're gonna go through that cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's in and out. One minute when when you hit that acceptance, then here comes the holiday, right? And you're back into denial, isolation, or you're back into you know being angry, right? Or
Yeah.
so the thing is to not be stuck there, right? Because you're going to go through it, but you don't want to get stuck. You want to find yourself, okay, how can I continue to move forward? How can I continue to move on? And one thing I ran across is when people do start moving on, they have a sense of guilt that comes along with it.
Mm.
When they, like if I'm moving on, that means I'm forgetting about the person, right? Instead of looking at it as you moving on, is you finding your meaning, finding that purpose. Moving on, maybe you start speaking to groups about losing
Yeah.
a child, are speaking to people who have lost a mother or who have experienced the loss through cancer, so that's still honoring that person, that's still sharing their memory and moving on at the same time through meaning and purpose.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's volunteering. Like if you lost a
Mhm.
person to cancer, then doing a annual cancer walk.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's through education. If they absolutely love education, and then you might sponsor a child. I mean, like there's so many different ways of
Yeah.
giving back and
Yeah.
adding meaning to that.
Mhm.
I also deeply believe in allowing our ancestors to have a space in our
Mhm.
life. Like folks
Mhm.
who moved on, like we moved on from the body, right? But then honoring their spirit
Yeah.
and figuring out what that looks like for us. There's like
Mhm.
so many different layers to it. And again, I would just say like, having an opportunity to really process with a counselor or in a group is so good because again, it's a process. And someone on
Mhm.
Facebook said the same thing. It's a process. It's not something that happens overnight, but it is something that does happen when you allow yourself to move through it. And I really feel like the feelings is where people really get caught. Many times we don't want to move through it because we don't want to access those feelings of
Mhm.
pain.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we try to bury them, but like you said, they come up in so many other different ways when we don't allow ourselves to sit in it and to feel. So I know you do, such as helping our clients journal
Mhm.
through, talk about their feelings that way.
Yeah.
You mentioned creatively, like the video or things
Mhm.
like that. But there's so many different ways to get those feelings out. I had a client who was really into music and she wrote a song, for her
Mhm.
father. And that was something that she would do, like play, the piano or whatever to be
Yeah.
able to bring him in remembrance.
Mhm.
And that was really it gave her a lot of solitude and solace. So I think it's just really figuring out what's going to be right for you.
Yeah, you have to figure out what works best for you. And the thing is, also the time. One thing I did want to talk about is on jobs, you know how jobs give you 5 days, right? They're like, you have 5 days for bereavement. But if you need longer for that, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and say, I'm not ready to come back to work. Take that time that you need instead of rushing back to work, avoiding getting caught up, just kind of pushing it to the side because I have bills to pay. My clients need me. I have this because if you're not 100% with yourself, you're not going to even be available for them. You're just a body, right?
Mhm.
Because you haven't healed, you haven't processed it. So take the time that you need. Recognize that you need time, right? Not just going back to work to just kind of go through the motions when you're not there. So I definitely wanted to add that to the list because a lot of jobs, they give 5 days. Like, who puts
Yeah.
a time limit on my healing, on my bereavement, right? On my mourning. So take the time that you need for yourself and for your loved ones, for parents, right? Your children need you. So make sure that you heal properly. It is a process.
I love that you said your children and the process, right? I think that's one of the things that we're really coming back to, especially as women, and then women of color, is taking the time to actually heal, taking the time to reflect. Because for many of us, we grew up in a space where we didn't get to do that. Like
Hmm.
grieving and all these different things, honoring yourself, self love, self care. This was for somebody else, okay?
Yeah.
We were designed to work and produce and to take care of
Keep
other
moving.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep.
So for a lot of us, we still have this mindset that was drawn into us or drilled into
Mhm.
us from our parents and their parents, right? So it is a new space of like, oh, even talking about your emotions and things like that. I do
Mhm.
feel like the young people really picked up with
Oh
it.
yeah.
But
Oh
when
yeah.
I say like 45 and older, a lot of times that's still really new to be able
Mhm.
to sit and be vulnerable with
Mm.
someone and sharing in that way. So it is all a new learning, but
Yeah,
we get to do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have the space, the opportunity, creating a new thing, right? Letting go of what was, right? And allowing what will be, So
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. I like that, Melissa.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you mentioned was the children.
Hmm. Hmm.
So as we grieve, from a loved one that we've lost, kids and our children are also grieving.
Hmm.
So giving them a way to process their emotion, giving them a way to understand what happened to their grandmother, what happened to their uncle, you know, and that might be through them drawing pictures, that might be them writing them a letter,
Hmm.
but allowing them to express themselves is also really big because again, a lot of times we don't think that kids are actually aware or
Hmm.
processing what's happening and they pick up on everything.
Everything. Yeah, they're sponges, right? And they pick up on our emotions, right? So when mama said, right, or daddy said, they pick up on that, right? And if you don't heal properly, then guess what? They grow up thinking that that's what happens when somebody dies. You just brush it off and you keep on moving. It doesn't teach them how to process their grief, how to heal, because they're just, we got to brush it off and keep on going. We don't talk about it. Yeah, grandma died, but I'm back on Monday. I'm back in school on
Mhm.
Tuesday, and not talking about it. So giving them that safe space to talk about how it makes them feel, right? The relationship that they had with the person.
It's big.
Mhm.
Well, I'm so excited we got a chance to talk about this tonight. Before we end, are there any final pointers that you want to add?
My main thing is take your time, right? Healing is not a race. Don't let someone tell you, oh, it's been 6 months. You should be okay by now, right? So don't put a time frame on it. Take the time that you need. Don't avoid when a feeling comes up. Honor that feeling, embrace that feeling, and write out, do again, journaling, right? Doing something for in memory of that person, watching a movie, baking a cake. What else did we talk about? Doing a TikTok reel, a photo collage, right? Doing something for them and not just, oh, I'm feeling sad, let me tuck it down, or I'm feeling angry and lashing out at your family.
Mhm.
Process what it is that you're feeling in that moment. Don't run from it.
Absolutely. And I would even add, those were great. I would even add, let people in your family know what you're processing.
Mm-hmm,
We
mm-hmm.
can handle it. Let
Yeah,
them know, like, hey, today is tough. I'm thinking about, mama. I'm thinking
mhm,
about, whoever.
yeah,
But I'm moving through it. But talk about it. It
mm-hmm,
like grief is a part of life, just like joy is.
mm-hmm,
So loss is a part of life, just like joy is, just like
mm-hmm,
birth and
mm-hmm.
renewal. We also have loss, and that's something that we have to like realize like when we all come here we're going to leave,
Yeah,
so these are things that we get to
avoid it.
manage, and we
Mhm.
also get to allow it to be a part of our lives, like
Yeah,
culturally it's okay
yeah,
you know
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to talk about it. Get a support group, get a support system. Facebook, we're here through the Healing Circle, as well as other grief groups, in your area, in your church, community, wherever. But just don't do it alone.
Absolutely. So we are here, Vision Works Counseling and Coaching. You can reach us at www.visionworkscoaching.com. If you'd
Yeah.
like to make an appointment with one of us, I think like Tara is always booked, but you might be able to get with her. Um, you could definitely reach out to us, and we are here to support you. It's been great. We will
Yeah.
see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you guys for
Bye.
have a great evening.